Kingsgrave is an old keep in the middle of the Red Mountains. It had been named so after a lord of House Manwoody that killed a king of the Reach, but that was many years before Aegon's conquest. In the days of old, House Manwoody was feared and respected. They could field a large, vicious army that feared no man. The coat arms is sable, a skull argent crowned or, a truly terrifying banner to behold. Lord Dickon inherited his seat in Kingsgrave during the Shattering. His father Dagos and his brother Mors were both killed. Dickon was bloodied and earned his spurs during the war. He showed himself a formidable warrior and battle commander, and after it all, he was a hard man. It was not clear if this was rooted before the bloody conflict or after, but this is the case today. He brooks no insult or nonsense, and he has shown no qualms in delivering the Queen's justice. But it did not prevent him from turning against Arianne Martell, siding with Quentyn Martell. After the war, he bent the knee to Princess Arianne, but with reservations. His armies were decimated in the war, and it is clear as he harbors resentment to Arianne for this and various other reasons. Dickon Manwoody is the Lord of Kingsgrave. He has two sons, Garrison and Robin. His wife, Cynthia Buckler, died in childbed, attempting to deliver their third child. Lord Dickon is a man of 40 years, hardened by war and strife. Dickon is a squat, thick man with thinning black hair. His face is wrinkled and weather-beaten, and his nose is hooked and wide. His dark beard appears to be a shadow, but his lips downward turn is his true darkness upon his visage. Dickon is a hard man. His only brother died childless, and Lord Dickon was never meant to rule. His wife died some 10 years ago, giving birth to a stillborn girl. The already morose lord took it poorly, and not but 5 years later he would take up the sword in rebellion. He is blunt and direct, and brooks no insult or fools. After Quentyn's war, Lord Dickon was made to bend the knee to Arianne Martell. He did so begrudgingly, and many thought he might fight to the death. House Manwoody was only second to House Ironwood in their open rebellion, and Dickon was instrumental in several key victories for Quentyn. Lands were seized, troops dispersed, and House Manwoody was severely crippled. His eldest son, Garrison, was forced into marriage to a near unknown woman from House Beesbury in the Reach. Garrison soon after left for Honeyholt, and not of his own accord, most say, as an heir leaving his father or mother holdings. It was strange indeed. Dickon's second son, Robin, was made to foster at Sunspear as a ward. There he was treated fairly, and taught near nothing of value. He learned not the sword, bow, or command. His frame is similar to his father's, but wasted greatly by his imprisonment. Lord Dickon has been looking for a match for Robin, one that might pay a dowry and could aid the betterment of House Manwoody's fortunes. Today, two visitors have approached the keep with no knowledge the other had arrived. Fate, perhaps, has turned Redwater on its head, far away from the heart of the Red Mountains. Okay. So, over the last few days, you both have traveled at slightly different times through the Red Mountains up into Kingsgrave. Let me show you the map, basically, so we get an idea of where you are. So, from where you are in Redwater, here, you have traveled west along the Redwater, either from the north or the south, crossing where you could, and headed through a small path to Kingsgrave. With you are different sets of men, which both of you are completely unaware of, but today you, with a small amount of retainers, sit in the keep waiting for an audience with Lord Dickon. You do not know that the other person is there until the last moment, when guards for House Dickon come and usher you forward from different rooms. As you walk, Henry and Liza Redhawk move along the long hallway, and slightly askew from them and behind is a larger man, Gareth. Now, it is up to you to decide if you know who each other are by appearance.
So who is his character exactly?
Gareth is, well, I'll let Mike describe him, who he is.
Gareth would be known, he's called Gareth Ironbranch. Due to the proximity of Redwater Keep, you would probably know he is the grandson of Ormond Ironwood through a illicit coupling of a woman, an orphan of the green blood. His father, Arturo, was a bastard who fought with House Will and the Red Viper, and what became of him was kind of lost to the general public, but it was eventually found out he died in the Reach. As for Gareth himself, he is a facilitator, mouthpiece, whatever term you'd want to use for Sir Aaron Redmane.
Okay, cool. So yeah, I think Henry would recognize him.
And I'm assuming Henry's wearing his coat of arms for House Redhawk and all that jazz.
Definitely.
Right?
Yeah, he's all decked out, looking fancy.
I would imagine Gareth would know basically by his looks and the sickle that he's wearing that he would be able to piece together that it's Henry, and I would presume Lisa is his wife.
Sister.
Yeah, it's his younger sister. So.
Now, is that the one that is the Septa, or am I thinking of something else?
That's his cousin. That's his cousin.
Okay.
Yeah, they all have L names. Yeah. So you're in the hallway and you kind of notice each other. So what is your reactions?
Yeah, Henry would just he doesn't necessarily hate the Redmanes, and Gareth is you said you're an Ironwood by birth technically or whatever.
Yeah, I'm the current Lord of Ironwood, Lord Anders. It would be my uncle.
Okay, cool. So yeah, he would Henry would just kind of give him a nod and say, Gareth.
Gareth, very much kind of surprised to see a Redhawk here. Also curious to as to the purpose of his visit. Would stroll over, kind of casually, hands behind the back, and is he a knight, by the way? Henry.
Is Henry a knight? No, technically, no. I don't know. No, he wouldn't be a knight.
Okay, then he would just go up to him and go, Henry Redhawk, it is a pleasure to see you. I am Gareth Ironbranch, currently serving Sir Aaron of the Redwater. I don't believe we've ever been properly introduced.
I don't believe so either. And he sticks out a hand and he says, pleasure to make the acquaintance.
Gareth, pleasure is mine, shakes his hand and turns to Lisa and who may this be?
And she kind of downcast her eyes and lets her brother introduce her as proper.
He says, this is my sister Lisa. We have come to speak with Dickon today. And he looks at his sister and he says, she is very excited.
Is that true, my lady? It must be quite the adventure for you to go along the Redwater all the way to the Princess Pass.
And she nods and Aye, it is, my lord. I am covered in dirt, I must say. It is a dusty ride.
Indeed it is. A dangerous ride, too.
And she looks at her brother and she's like, oh, we're well protected, my lord. And she starts to maybe say something. My brother has brought...
He doesn't put his hand over her mouth, but he kind of gives her a look and begins to raise his hand like he's gonna, and he's like, Lisa, there's no need to bore him with our I'm trying to think of the word, businesses or something like that.
Sure.
Garrett just kind of raises an eyebrow. Of course. Definitely interest piqued about what she was about to mention.
And the servant that was taking you towards the Lord's audience chamber, like stops and is kind of waiting for you. I assume you're probably walking slowly, and he's like, "This way,
Right.
Lord Dickon will not want to wait. I assure you, it is wise to come immediately."
Yeah, Henry will immediately pick up his pace. And
Gareth, kind of extends his arm as if, after you. Follows him in.
Henry will walk with Lisa forward.
Okay. So as you come inside, a very old, sparsely decorated circular room in the middle of the castle. There is a fairly large dais, actually, with a fairly large seat, and seated on it is a man that fits the description of Lord Dickon. Lord Dickon is a middle-aged man and described as I was talking about earlier. He's wearing his black jerkin with his ardent skull on his breast, and next to him sits a great sword that is clearly castle-forged steel, sitting on basically his right in a ornate stand type of thing, weapon stand type of thing, and on the left is a long sword, also castle forged steel. And there are no other people in the room at all, except the four of you, as the servant stops at the door and as he walks in, pulls the doors closed behind you. Lord Dickon gives a very faint smile and says, come forward. Let me see your faces."
And Henry will walk forward and usher Lisa with him.
Gareth kind of walks forward, back straightened, knowing the history of Dickon and what he believes to be what he would want to see. He strides forward with a purpose and kind of nods his head and goes, "Lord Dickon, it is an honor to meet you today."
And he doesn't really respond to the pleasantries, but simply says, "Odd that I would have the son of Lord Oliver Redhawk here and his daughter, and also, well, an Ironwood by birth. Aye, is that you? I don't have a maester any longer, but this is what my people have told me."
Aye, that is correct. My grandfather was Lord Ormond, and my uncle, Lord Anders.
And so he looks at both of you and he says, "So, are you here on the behest of Lord Anders?"
I'm here on behalf of Lord Aaron Redmane today.
He noticeably frowns at that and looks over at Henry and he says, "Well, clearly you are not. I assume old hardships do not die so easily in your family?"
Yeah, Henry just smiles and he says, "Of course not, my lord. We always stay true to our history."
And he
Except Lady Miriam, of course.
Lord Dickon kind of leans back and he's like, "Well, what are you doing here then? I'll have you say it out in open, plainly, in front of each other. I don't want any scheming here in Kingsgrave."
And Gareth turns to Henry and goes, "By all means, the son of Lord Oliver should have pleasure of going first."
And he says, "Yes, you are right." And he walks forward a little further with his sister, and says, "We have we know that your son has recently returned, and our houses were once bonded through warfare, whereas you fought alongside my father. Today, I bring you my sister, Lisa. I believe she to be the perfect candidate to not only marry your son, but unify our houses.
And Lord Dickon, like, kind of looks sidelong at you, and he's doesn't really say anything. So the way, so unless okay, you guys are going to interfere with each other, and you could possibly decide this at any time, depending on what people say. But we're going to do 2 intrigues at once, essentially. Um, Henry will try to intrigue Dickon for what he wants to do, and Gareth will try to intrigue Dickon for what he wants. Now, if you ever want to, these are 2 different separate things. So, in those, unless you want to interfere with each other, then that's how it's going to play out. If you want to interfere with each other, it becomes a intrigue for different purposes, right? So you will try to intrigue Dickon to not do what the other person says, or to alter it slightly, or whatever, right? Does that make sense?
Yep.
Yeah, I would say Gareth will probably interfere or mollify depending on how things go. But out of combat knowledge, I know our objectives today do not, really interfere with one another. But
right, and I don't know his objective, so as of now,
that's why I had you go first.
No, and I knew that.
And you will both have an equal opportunity to screw each other over if that is what you choose to do, right? So what we can do is we can.
No, I can do.
We're doing a session. Please mute.
I'm sorry.
No, you're fine. You can be here, just don't mute.
Oh.
Okay, whatever.
Oh, I was just gonna say, no, he's gone.
Yeah. So basically, we'll handle Henry's first, then we'll do Gareth's, right? So we can just do it cleanly, one at a time. And so if Gareth wants to, he can enter the intrigue doing whatever he wants, and then Henry can do the same back. And it shouldn't matter which one goes first, really.
Just to be clear, since this is all one scene, you can use destiny points for the scene, right?
Yeah, you can.
So,
well,
like,
so you would use it. So basically, what would happen if you spent a destiny point in this scene? Any other scenes that Henry would be a part of in your scene, or Gareth in his session, would not be available until the very last GM scene, the way it was last time, right? So any other personal scenes that he's involved in or anything like that, his destiny point. Basically, there's no reason not to use them. I mean,
right.
But okay. So what we'll do is everyone roll status reputation. Which Dickon definitely has a lot more of that than you guys do.
I almost got him.
That's a good roll. And Liza is not participating, obviously. She's just sitting there like a goose. So Lord Dickon looks at Henry and says, "Is that so? I suppose that's not the worst thing I've heard in the world." And he says, "But House Redhawk did a lot of fighting in the rebellion, but I can't remember your father having any great victories." And he says, "Let me ask you, if I would undertake this marriage, what sort of dowry would I be receiving? I could take anything of significant value, wealth, men. And so he's basically going to try to convince you to give him something good. So let me roll here. He's just going to do a convince. So that's 11. Don't call out your intrigue defenses, please. I'll just look.
Okay.
So that's 1 degree of success. Actually, that might
I
be
don't
not true.
think so. Oh yeah.
Yeah, it's actually
I think so.
and his disposition stuff too. So don't forget that. So his
Oh, you're
disposition is
right.
going to add stuff. So that was going to give him. I can't say it out loud, but that gives him 1 degree of success. And your DR to that is okay. So no composure damage. So you're not convinced by that. So go ahead.
So in a reply, he will say, I'm going to basically try to do... Actually, quick question first.
Mm-hmm.
Raising his disposition again to me by attempting to do that. Disposition will only affect like our persuasion and deception rules, correct? It won't actually change like what he's willing to do with Henry.
Well, that's a. Oh, go. Sorry, Ted. Not sorry to jump on you there.
No, you can. Go ahead, Mike.
And let me make sure I understand what you're saying, Swamp. Is now you're trying to convince him to marry Lisa. Is that correct? His son, Robin.
Right, but basically what I'm asking now, if I use Shield of Reputation and I succeed and raise my disposition with him, will that only really affect the rules, not really the way he acts towards me?
Well, if you succeed in the intrigue, now I don't want to guarantee it, but if you succeed in the intrigue, then there's a much greater chance that Liza will marry Robin, right? So
I'm gonna that's what I wanted to do anyway.
Okay,
so
that's fine.
I'm gonna go ahead and attempt to use Shield of Reputation and just basically be like, we may not offer you directly wealth and gold, but with me at the helm of this, and you say that my father did not lead any great victories, but with me at the helm of House Redhawk, great victories will be had, and our house will become great.
Okay.
And I'm gonna go ahead and spend a destiny point for that as well.
Okay. So you would.
So your look.
Go ahead, Mike.
Just so I understand, basically for the purpose of this exchange, this intrigue, you're looking to temporarily increase his disposition towards you, to basically increase your persuasion modifier and damage reduction.
I don't know if it's temporary. It doesn't say it's temporary, but yeah, basically. It says it increases his disposition by 1, so I don't know if that means temporary or...
The only reason I think, and Ted obviously has the call on this, is because
it's just one conversation.
It's one conversation, and actually you can have a intrigue where the specific goal is to raise disposition. Right. So, if you wanted to do persuasion.
Okay, no, yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah, because remember when Horus did that for
That's
Leora?
Exactly. Yep,
right.
Totally. Yep. So I add 3 to that, or add. For spending a destiny point.
You roll an extra die.
Okay, just 1. I get confused between this and Hunter.
Right. Yeah. So you roll whatever your status reputation is plus 1 bonus die.
So 4 plus 5d6.
13 versus his passive will.
Is it 4 keep 1 or roll 5 keep 4?
Oh, probably. So 12 is what it would be.
Yeah, that's fine. It doesn't matter. Dickon looks at you strangely, and he's like, "What do you mean when you are, or that you're in charge?" And he's like, "Your father is still the Lord. How can you assure me any such thing?" And you can respond and roleplay before Gareth goes, but...
Yeah, he says, my father is too busy with the Faith Militant and the Seven. He does not care for his people anymore. I have been put in control.
And he like leans and he's like, what do you mean? He's like, you're saying that your father has renounced his claim for the perch?
And that is what he did, correct?
Yes.
Yes, he cares so much about his house that he left his family behind and joined the Faith Militant.
And he looks at Gareth. And what is Gareth trying to do here?
Right now, I'm letting them just talk it out because they're not really influencing each other. He's trying to do anything mechanically yet.
Okay. All right, so we'll skip Gareth. Dickon.
I will.
Yeah, go ahead.
I will. I'll consider for this. Basically, yeah, he's just sitting, biding his time.
Yep. Just remember you have a +2B then. So Dickon says, that is interesting news for sure. And he like frowns and he's like, I would have never believed it, to be quite honest. Your father was always a good warrior and fighter, and he's like, I respected him. And he says, but even still, now that if you are really the lord of the perch, then you can deal with me directly, and that is good. If you want real favor with my house, then the dowry must be sufficient for a house of our status compared to your own. And so he's going to roll again. He is actually going to spend a destiny point, which he has, as I remember, that many. So bear with me. Okay.
Okay, so Henry will reply, and he will attempt to convince Dickon and say, a dowry is well and good until the money is spent. The nature of what I am offering is greater than that. There may be money exchanged and men exchanged, but it will be amiable for both of our people, or both of our houses. And then, so I roll, I believe, 8. Keep 4.
No, you have.
No, that's not right.
7.
Because I have
7.
Well, no, 8 because of expertise convince.
So then you're rolling.
Yep. Then you keep 5. Then
Yep,
if you had
five.
extra.
Yeah, I keep an extra, right?
Yeah,
Yep.
5 keep. I'm sorry. Roll 8, keep 5. And then you can re-roll your 1s.
Oh yeah, you're totally right. Honor bound, baby.
No, that's
Or
attractive.
Attractive.
Up to half is oh shit.
Is it up to half his persuasion?
I'm gonna find out right now because I have it too, and I just looked at it and I've already forgotten it.
Question: would I re-roll that one as well if it wasn't that way or whatever?
No, it's not like Danger Sense where you re-roll infinite
Every time.
ones. It's you may re-roll a number of ones equal to half your persuasion rank.
2.
So you can re-roll 2 of those ones.
So we'll just take the 4 in replace of one of the ones, and then not the 6 because I rolled 3.
That's fine. So that would be +3. So
24.
24. Yeah, 24 versus whatever he has. So let's see. That is 3 degrees of success. What is convince? Will, I believe.
I think so. Hold on, I have it right.
Yeah. Pretty sure. Oh,
Yep, influence, will.
Then plus your what you think of him, right? Which is
Disposition,
yeah.
right?
which is that. So that's yeah, it's still. Oh, actually, that might have bumped
It
it up
adds it. I
to
think that bumped it up.
it. Well, I mean, yeah, that's
Well, I
4.
guess I don't know.
Yeah,
I
you don't
don't
know what he
know.
is, but
Right.
it is right. It's 24 degrees, or I mean, sorry, it's 4 degrees of success. So if which let me look at what's your will. You can just tell me. It's fine.
4.
All right. So convince is will based.
Yeah, you 16, whatever his DR is, minus his DR.
Yeah, so that would be more than his composure, I'm almost positive, yeah. So he takes a frustration. So frustration is like a wound, just so if you know.
Now, how would Gareth, just mechanically, how would he go and attempt to aid Dickon in this intrigue? And I'm talking beyond mollify and like fast talk.
Assist.
Would he be able to attempt to? And I know it says he can't influence directly, or can he, Dickon in this?
You could try to change. Yes, you could try to change Dickon's mind for some. You could influence him. Yeah, you could influence him too. So you would have basically, yeah, you can influence him for a different purpose, right? So you basically you'll be working off different composure, but right. So he'll have full composure versus you, right?
Yeah. Let's see here. I'm trying to decide what to do. Yeah, I think he would do that. He'd go, if I may be so bold, Lord Dickon, while a marriage for your son would be most enjoyable, and it is true that you fought alongside each other in the unfortunate rebellion, let us remind ourselves you fought on the losing side.
Ooh.
And they're asking you to join a family that lost a rebellion, in addition to a lord who abandons his family, in addition to a house that can barely control the people within their lands. Banditry is currently rampant. We see it from the north side of the river every day. We hear tales of it. I don't know if this matches the best for your son and for the future of House Manwoody.
All right. So what are you gonna? That sounds like convinced to me. Probably.
The marriage might not be the best idea. Let's see here. I'm going to have to roll this manually because I get 2B from the consider. And I'm doing a convince. So... And just for shits and giggles, I'll re-roll those 2 ones. I also am attractive.
A lot of good-looking people and
yeah, Dorn is full of whatever they said on the show, hot pussy.
Except this guy. So 22. His disposition is a little different to you. Your disposition is a little different to him too, right? So that would be. Let me find out what this is going to be here. So his is. You're convincing, right? What's your will?
3.
Takes 4 composure damage. I think that's right. Hold on, make sure. Sorry.
Yeah, and different DR is 4, unless he has a higher.
Yeah, it's not that. So, he looks at you and he frowns and he's like, I don't know who to believe. We have 2 sides of the Redwater that don't exactly agree with one another, do they? And he looks like over at Henry and he says, I'm more amiable to your to what you say, Lord Henry, and it's note that he calls you Lord Henry now, a sign of kind of respect. And he says, I believe that we could make this deal work and that Liza might be a match for my Robin. But what good is House Manwoody to you if we do not have the strength and resolve to be strong again? He's like, unlike you, we fought in many of the battles, many of the wars, and my house has been bloodied. And so he's going to try to convince you again. This is going to be almost worthless. 3d6, keep 2. Because the frustration's like a wound, right? So he keeps 1 less die. Nope.
Henry says, well, like my colleague said, we may not, our ex-lord, my father, may have left us. And yes, we may have banditry, but then he looks at him and he says, at least we are able to keep all of the men of our house part of our house. And then he looks back at Dickon and says, as I said before, we may not be able to directly give you gold and men, but the men we have are very highly trained. As you said, my father was not as proactive as he should have been in the war, but I am not that way. I have elite units, and I plan to use them the way they deserve to be used. There is no need in training such a glorious group of men if you are not going to use them. That being said, whenever your house needs aid, you will have the aid of House Redhawk. That I promise.
Okay.
And convince once more.
Mm-hmm. 8d6, keep 5, right? $23.
And then I'll re-roll those 2 ones.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Oh.
So he nods slightly and he says, looks at Liza again and he says, she's a comely young girl, too comely for my Robin, that is for sure. So he takes another frustration.
Talking shit on my sister.
No,
what do you call her? Homely?
Comely. Good, attractive, he's saying.
Oh, okay.
He's losing it, still burning her.
I thought you said homely. I was like, that's a nice way of saying she looks like an old grandma lady.
Comely.
Gareth kind of adds, and this is not a role at all, but she's very comely. Some might not say as much as Lord Aaron's daughter Amber. She was, after all, deemed the lady of, what is it, Love and Beauty at the tournament. That's Queen of Love and Beauty at this Sunspear tournament, but does that really matter to young Robin?
And this is Robot Dickon's like, are you offering Amber Sand as a match for my son?
Oh, I do not speak upon that. He would have to go if he desired Amber to Redwater Keep to ask her hand. But we'll worry about why I'm here in a moment.
And Dickon says, House Manwoody does not go to the likes of Redwater to beg for a hand of a marriage from a knightly house. And he rolls his eyes and looks. Is Gareth gonna try any rolls or anything?
No, he can't really mollify him or anything like that, and he's taken enough frustrations. There's no point. He's just gonna sit here and.
Yeah. So he looks at Henry and he's like, Lord Henry, I think this match is wise. He's like, we should work the details out for a modest dowry, and perhaps before you leave, you should meet Robin. He is training in the mountains currently, but will be back soon.
Gareth kind of. Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, go ahead.
Henry just nods and he says, I would love to meet Robin. he may not have been able to train with you his whole life, but I know you'll turn him into a man here very soon.
And he
I'm
kind
gonna-
of grunts.
I'm going to leave this on a cliffhanger because my kid fell asleep, but Gareth is going to add, well, Lord Dickon, depending on where your son is hunting, there might be no marriage, for he might be dead before the fortnight is over.
Dun, dun, dun.
Yeah. He'll be back in a few minutes. Yeah, that was nice. I liked how that worked.
No, that was cool. I like how he fucking tried to... he jumped in there, had his little 2 cents.
Yeah.
Those rolls, though.
Yeah, good rolls.
He rolls so much for convincing. That's why I almost went for a charm, because I wanted to be like, your house is so magnificent. I just want to be a part of it. Because I basically just wanted to talk about the sigil, because the sigil is so badass.
Yeah.
But convince is just such a better option for Henry.
Yeah. I think it honestly, in roleplay terms, it works better for Dickon anyway. He's not really much to be flattered and.
Yeah, exactly. He's not into the pleasantries.
Yeah. I just saw this image and I was like, this guy's got to be a dick, you know, and that was just kind of.
Dickon?
Yeah, Dickon. He's good.
I mean, his name is Dickon.
Yeah.
Like.
Yeah, I about jumped out of my chair twice. My wife walks behind me. There's a freezer in my office, and it's like down in the basement. And she walks behind me. I see a reflection in the window in front of me, and I'm like, "What the hell is that?" And I look up, and then she like passes over like right next to me, and I jump. I'm like, "Shit!" And then like 5 minutes later, my dog like gets under my feet and puts like a toy under there, and I feel something just randomly moving across my feet, and I jump up. Like, Jesus. Leave me alone.
I had this string hanging from like the inside of my shirt one time.
Yeah.
And all day long, I swear to fucking God, I would just be like sitting down or walking or something, and I'd feel it like brush my chest.
Yeah.
And I'd fucking jump up and slap my chest a whole bunch.
Yeah, thinking it's like a spider or something.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And then eventually, after like 3 or 4 fucking hours of me like freaking out, I finally, because I thought there was like shit living in my shirt. Like,
yeah. Do I have bed bugs?
Speaking of bed bugs, you hear what people do with bed bugs now?
No.
They smoke them to get.
Oh yeah.
To get like hallucinations.
Oh, they smoke them? They actually.
They smoke bed bugs. They collect them and light them on fire and breathe it in.
That's disgusting.
Isn't that fucking crazy? Apparently, it gives you like an insane trip, but like I'm not interested.
All right, I'm back.
All right. And okay, let's start again. So, Dickon looks at Gareth and he like stands up and grabs the pommel of his greatsword and he's like, "Excuse me?"
Henry pipes up and says, "Sounds like a threat, my lord."
Gareth stands his ground back straight, knowing that this was the response he was anticipating and desiring. And Gareth looks at him and in a very even, flat voice, looks at him and goes, "Lord Dickon, the mountain that Ride lives and is heading towards your castle. And if your son truly is training in the mountains, learning the things that he was robbed at Sunspear, he very well may be in danger for his life."
And he looks somewhat confused at first and says, "The mountain that rides?" And he looks like he just kind of gives you this stare of like, what the fuck are you talking about type of thing, you know?
Yes, allow me to explain myself. He goes, I know you're a man, a straight-talking, no-nonsense lord, and I will not bore you with fancy stories, but I'll relay the facts to you. Recently, there was a raid by Ben within Redwater lands. It was investigated by Lord Aaron, and they captured men wearing the colors of House Clegane. And we believed it to be a farce, but upon further investigation, we discovered one of their encampments. And not only did we determine that approximately 300 men are following the mountain, that he is heading west through the Red Mountains towards the Princess Pass and potentially House Manwoody on a trail that comes somewhere south, we believe, of your location. He has also kidnapped the daughter of Sir Adam Waxley of the Faith Militant, a man that Sir Aaron is currently talking to right now in a quest to bring down one of the most hated men in Dorne. And that is why I'm here today. Not only does it seem fate brought me here to warn you of your son's potential danger, but to invite House Manwoody in bringing down one of the most reviled men in Dornish history.
Okay. So what we'll do is, I'll leave it up to you. Do you guys want to re-roll initiative, or?
Henry's definitely going to be involved in this. He has
Yep,
something
understood.
that he would want to do with this.
Let's since this is a completely different intrigue, let's re-roll initiative.
Yep. And before I start doing mechanically stuff, he'll probably continue with his story.
Yeah.
I want to hear more. I want to throw this in real quick. I really like that we're doing this like split session because I don't watch any of the YouTube sessions that the other group plays, and this is like the only way that I get information on like what they're doing, right? So I think this is pretty interesting.
Yeah.
But yeah, just to get both sides of like what's happening without actually like quote unquote cheating.
All right, still going last. Okay, go ahead with your story.
So, and if you would have asked me a month ago, Lord Dickon, if I believed the mountain lived, I would have frankly laughed in your face. What an absurd tale. We all know that Aaron Redmane, along with many Dornish knights and lords, went north and saw the Red Viper kill him in one-on-one combat. We've also heard the rumors that he pops up from time to time, wreaking havoc on the Seven Kingdoms, or 15, or however many there are now. And I wouldn't have believed it either until I went to House Will some time ago and found that not only had he been aware of these rumors, but Queen Shireen of King's Landing had sent the Night's Watch, led by no other than the Hound Sander himself, to track down and kill the Mountain. And all of these things together, along with the clues and a letter from Sir Adam Waxley's daughter that had been left behind at the camp for anyone who had come across it, that she had been kidnapped by the Mountain. Another reason we had approached the Faith Militant in requesting their aid in hunting this man down. All these things combined tell me one thing: you cannot fake someone that is 8 foot tall. You cannot fake his barbarity, and you certainly can't pull the wool over Sander Clegane's eyes. He is here. He is in the Red Mountains, and we're assembling a host to take him down.
Quick question: Did you say that the Hound was with the Night's Watch?
Yes, the Hound Sander Clegane
was
leading the Night's Watch in attempting to find the Mountain.
Yeah, you might not know this, Swamp. In Shattered Kingdoms, the Night's Watch is based out of King's Landing, and they're more like a roaming band of basically an arm of hers, like her special forces kind of thing. But they do things. They're more like a religious sect now, almost.
Interesting.
For the Red God, right? And so, yeah. So
the White Walkers were defeated, so they kind of serve a new purpose.
Yeah.
That's really cool.
Yep. So Dickon looks at Henry and looks at Liza, who is sitting there kind of awestruck and looks very nervous for her betrothed, or soon-to-be betrothed, is in danger already within 1 minute of the negotiation. And Dickon says, "A host, you say, to kill Sandor, or to kill the Mountain that rides?" And he seems very interested in that. And he says, "Well, tell me, Gareth Ironbranch, what would you have me do? Lead your armies?" He's like, "I believe that is the only way you would defeat such a vile man." And so he's going to basically do a... Let's see. What do I want to do? Bear with me. I lost my place here. I'm gonna do Shield of Reputation. Oh, what a horrible roll. Didn't beat your passive well, did it?
1 sec, I'm scrolling. No, it did not.
Okay. That's a really bad roll for him. Yep.
Yay.
Okay, Henry. If you choose to do something.
Yeah, Henry looks at Gareth and looks back at Dickon, and then looks to Lisa and says, "Do not worry, sister. I'll handle this." And it looks back at Dickon and says, "The Redmane army is nothing compared to the Redhawk army. Let me assist you in this, and it will just further solidify the marriage. This will be my way of offering dowry. I will stop the mountain, or we will stop the mountain."
All right.
And same thing.
It'd be a convince.
8d6 cube 5. Yeah. No, 1-1.
So he's gonna have to take a frustration to that. So he says, "Hi." He's like, "Our forces might be able to do it, but the more the better for this." And he's like, "I don't know what you know about the mountain that rides, but if it is him, it will be a difficult task." How he couldn't even, and he like shakes his head, and he's like, "He must be almost 50 by now. How is he alive?" And he just like looks troubled.
Gareth looks at me and goes, it matters not how he lives, but how he dies. And I would like to see that with the cooperation of House Redmane, the Faith Militant, who, as I mentioned, Sir Aaron is speaking with. And I'm sure they'll be more than happy to get Sir Adam Waxley's daughter back. House Will, I believe House Uller will be assisting as well. And we've only asked a certain number of houses to participate in this. And I believe helping a loyal house like House Redmane would be one step in helping reclaim House Manwoody's glory, return of titles and lands, to kill the mountain who killed Queen Arianne's uncle and cousins so many years ago. Well,
Straight influence.
yeah. One quick question. For fast talk, does that last the entire exchange? For one round?
Into the next exchange, so that, to me, that sounds like one round.
Okay, then yeah.
Well,
during
during the exchange, a player may choose to perform one of the following actions.
Yeah, so I'm gonna ignore fast talk because I wouldn't be able to influence him.
Yeah, it's basically to set somebody up to influence, I think.
Yeah, somebody else would have to do it. Yeah. 22.
So that is so you're doing convince still?
Yes, I'm convincing him to join the alliance in attempting to take down the mountain.
And he nods and he says, "I think the only way I can agree to this, Gareth," and he looks at Henry and he's like, 2 conditions. First, I lead your armies. The armies of House Manwoody, the armies of House Redmane, the armies of House Will, the armies of House Uller, and we shall bring my future daughter-in-law's house, the armies of House Redhawk. And so he's going to try to convince you of that. He's going to spend his last DP. He does not have a frustration to you.
I was actually curious about that. So, let's say Henry gets him down to 2 frustrations, right? And then someone else finishes, like Walter, his character finishes him off.
Yep. No, that won't.
It's separate.
It's a completely separate intrigue. So after I do an influence on him, I'm going to do an influence to you too.
Okay.
Right? So,
Perfect. Okay.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Yeah, they're completely separate, or it will also wouldn't make sense, right? Because you're trying to
exactly.
Yeah,
right,
you're trying to do 2 different things. So so this is the way we're doing it. Yeah, but it's completely separate. So roll 40. Okay. I don't think that hit, did it? Or maybe it hit for minimal.
It did. It would be 1 degree. I don't know his disposition towards me.
Yeah. Well, so that doesn't even matter, right? I can tell you. Well, I guess it does. His. Hold on. I'll tell you what his effective roll is.
What's his damage or influence base damage?
4.
Damage.
Yeah, 4, and basically he got. Oh, he didn't hit you. What's your intrigue defense? It's more than 10, or is it 10 or?
It's 9, so that's where he did.
No,
1 degree.
He did not hit you. No.
Okay.
All right, Henry.
Henry says, "Of course you would lead, Dickon. You are the most decorated warrior in Dorne currently that I know of." And then Henry will continue to say, "Whereas I agree, we should all work together in this. It seems as though you should get something from the rest of the houses for leading this." Okay, so it's plain to you. Basically, what I'm trying to do is, I don't know what this would be, but I'm agreeing with Dickon that we should unite, but that he should request more from the other houses for him leading this. Because, Henry, for instance, their houses. He's in his mind solidified their houses already. His troops are their troops. So, basically, this is what I'll say. He'll say, "My troops are your troops. That is my contribution to this." But what is everyone's contribution to this? You're leading an army for other people. Yes, maybe to protect your son, but this is almost something I think that we could do on our own. What do you need them for? So, I don't know if that would be charm because I'm talking him up, or convince maybe.
I would let it go either way.
Yeah, then I'll use convince for sure. So whereas I'm agreeing with what he said, I believe he should charge them, basically, is what I'm trying to convince. Okay. That we should get more out of this than whatever. Ooh. Oh, 3. So I can only roll 2 of those ones, right?
Right.
Okay. Correct.
So they both count.
Increased it by 2.
2, yep.
Or 2, excuse me.
So that doesn't change anything. I don't think. Let me look. Gotta look at the table here. I definitely don't think you have these memorized, unfortunately. Okay, so yeah, so that doesn't change anything. What is your will?
4.
So okay, so okay, so he takes 5 composure damage. And Dickon didn't actually respond to you, right? I don't think he's ever going to hit you, so I'm just going to skip it. But that's not fair.
He could. Yeah, he still could. If he rolled max, I think he could.
So Dickon looks to Henry, and this is like proactive to the last, because he should be trying to influence you both, right? So he says, essentially, this is a large undertaking. I believe it would be wise for more men more men for this task. You haven't seen what the mountain has done. I have. He's killed hundreds of men over his life, and likely hundreds more if we continue this fight. And so he's basically attempting to influence you to add your forces to.
For free, right?
For free. Okay, so
And then Henry would just, for role play reasons, would reply with, "Of course, the more men, the better. But what use are these men if the men we have could already handle it?" And then, yeah.
So that's 2 degrees. Let me look at your composure or your influence.
I don't know what his disposition is to me currently, but that might miss.
No, it didn't miss. Did not miss. But it's 1 degree of success for 4, and then you're so you would be. Let me see what you put your disposition as. I don't remember offhand. Okay, so you take 1 composure damage. Yeah. You take 1 composure damage.
Okay.
Okay, so this would be on Gareth now.
Gareth kind of looks over to Henry and Dickon and thinks he goes, well, Henry and House Redwater has not been invited to this troop being assembled. The offers certain houses, yours, Lord Dickon being one of them, seeing this as an excellent opportunity for you to get back into the Queen's good graces. With that said, I believe when Lord Aaron arrives, if you do offer your assistance, you may be willing to speak with him one-on-one to determine who is the overall commander of this sortie.
While he's doing this, can Henry ask Gareth a question?
Role play. Yeah, sure.
Yeah, right. Yeah, so Henry actually will say, why would you not invite the Redhawks to such an occasion? Our army would assist tremendously.
In your opinion?
No, it is fact. Our army would run over your army, over the army of the Redmanes.
I tried to bring House Manwoody in defeating an opponent, and you threatened me. How very noble of a most recently appointed lord. Threats under the Queen's peace.
It is no threat. It is a fact. You do not invite an army close to you that could greatly assist you in what you call a noble cause. There's no nobility in a weaker army.
So now attacking the mountain is not a noble cause, I see. Interesting.
That's totally not what I said, but okay. Yeah, Henry will just, he's clear that, like, there's an agenda, so he just looks forward again.
Okay. You want to roll your influence?
Yeah, let me roll here. Well, hot damn.
It's funny when you're mad about not rolling ones.
Yeah, right. I'm like, damn it, I wanted higher.
So let's see. What was yours? Just trying to get it written down here. Yeah, that's what I thought. Okay. So Will is 3, 9. He has to take a frustration. So Dickon watches the back and forth, and he's like, enough of that. He's like, you bring your problems somewhere else. I don't care about your family feud. And he says, it is true that the mountain, killing him is an honorable and worthy thing. And I will say this unquestioningly, any man who puts the sword to Clegane's neck or attempts to do so, I will think better of them for it. And he starts with Gareth and says, it would be a simple thing. I am the better commander than your Sir Aaron. I respect Sir Aaron as a knight, but that is all. I have the experience, I have the ability. Do you not wish victory? Okay. $11.
1 degree.
1 degree. He might not even have hit you. Hang on.
Oh yeah, I'm not including.
Mm-hmm. Hold on.
Either way, he does no damage with my damage reduction.
Yeah, he would have not have hit you anyway. And then he turns to Henry and he's like, Henry, he's like, put these troubles with the Redmanes aside. Join this host under myself, and we shall take the glory from the field. No.
So Henry responds, and he looks at the Redmane man, and he looks back at Dickon and says, we will join this fight, and I will bring the entirety of the Redhawk army. My only request is that I lead next to you. You will be in control, but I wish to be there when this mountain is slain. And I will roll my convince again.
Mm-hmm.
And he's gonna go. I'm gonna go ahead and spend another destiny point,
Mm-hmm.
just in case. So I'll roll 9d6, keep 5.
Yes.
Reroll 2, 1. Okay.
So that didn't matter. So
Nope.
24. Well, okay. So he has to take a frustration to that anyway. So, so you guys are on the same round. So, whatever. But so, Dickon says, he's like, I think that could be done. You could learn a lot from me.
And he says, that is what I wish, to learn from a man whose battle prowess is greater than I.
It doesn't take much to exceed your battle prowess.
It totally doesn't.
Young Henry.
Yeah, you just get a glare.
Gareth looks to Lord Dickon and give me 1 sec. I want to read something here.
Sure.
On destiny point usage, if I so choose.
I seriously still can't get over how badass their sigil is.
Manwoody, yeah.
It's so simple yet perfect.
You kill a gardener king and
Yeah, so what happened with that? I mean, like within the lore of Game of Thrones.
In the lore of Game of Thrones, sometime many years before Aegon's conquest, when the petty kings were all around still, I can't remember. It was like Arlen or something like that. Manwoody, who was a king of the Red Mountains. The Manwoodies at one time controlled all of the Red Mountains, and of course, Dorne was in constant warfare with the Northern Realms, particularly the Reach and the Stormlands. And one of the kings, the old kings of the Reach used to be the Gardeners, and the king of House Manwoody killed a king of the Reach, one of the Gardener kings, and therefore they called this place Kingsgrave. So
yeah, that's brutal as fuck.
All right, Gareth kind of looks at them and goes, well, Lord Dickon, unfortunately, the participation of House Redhawk, rest of the houses, to not commit their forces. The accolades to be spread will be spread too thin. In addition, we do not need House Redhawk's help. We have more than enough forces. I encourage Lord Henry to use his army to quell his own troubled lands while we deal with the mountain. As I said, Sir Aaron will be more than happy to discuss overall command with you when he arrives, or the help, being those we invite and those we invite only.
okay.
Still an 18.
Okay. You're not using a DP or anything?
No, not
Cool.
at the moment.
Okay, so 18, so that is 6, 1 composure damage. So I'm gonna stop trying to, well, yeah, it's fine. So Dickon says to Gareth, he's like, I don't know why it's so hard for you to admit what is the truth, boy. And he looks you up and down. He's like, I don't know what an Ironwood would be doing serving the Redmanes anyway. And he says, there's no doubt from anyone in Dorne, the Reach, the Stormlands, or any of the other petty kingdoms who's the greatest battle commander in Dorne. It is I. He's like, do you want to kill the mountain that rides, or do you not? My speech was a lot more convincing than this is going to be.
That's what's really funny. Like you totally convince me sometimes. Like with what you say, I'm like, yeah, hell yeah, and then you're like, okay, 8. I'm like, oh, okay, well, I guess I don't agree.
Miss, yeah, you don't agree.
Lord Gareth Gareth quickly responds, you are quite the able commander, and yet you failed to win.
And he
The rebellion.
bites his lip.
I am looking to give you an opportunity. I'm looking to give you an opportunity to restore your house. The first step is joining our alliance, and he puts emphasis on our, against the mountain. Surrounding yourself with the forces of rebels is not the way to go about that. And he looks at Henry as he says rebels. Again, just for clarification, Tet, you know the people that are kind of involved, and none of them, as of right now, were rebels. They were all loyalists.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So I'm not gonna roll against Henry because I literally can only keep one die against him, so I cannot match his intrigue defense. If everyone's okay with me not rolling against him.
If you can't mechanically do it, don't waste your time.
I cannot mechanically reach it, right? He only keeps one die, so he can only get a 6. Okay.
What was he saying? If
Dickon,
anything, I guess.
Dickon just like looks at Henry and he says, "The only thing we can do this, but I don't know if we can do it alone."
And Henry looks back at the man insulting his house, and then looks back at Dickon, and he says, "Just allow me to be there, next to your side, and I will show you, as well as these quote-unquote non-rebels, the true power of the House Redmane." And
so he takes another frustration and he says, You say rebels like it's a bad thing, Iron Branch. And he says, I was a rebel once.
Rebels aren't bad when you win. It is bad when you lose. I'm offering an olive branch to bring you back in the fold. I'm not saying what they did to Robin was just or right. If it wasn't for your martial prowess and command, I would offer Robin to be a squire for Lord or Sir Aaron. I come offering you a warning that seems prudent, especially for your son. And lastly, a chance to bring Manwoody back to the position that it once was. It won't be easy. I know our differences with House Redhawk complicate matters. Complicated world. And I apologize, and Gareth kind of bites his tongue while saying this, for insinuating Lisa would be ill-suited for Robin. It is not my place to judge. However, of whether or not they assist us in going after the mountain, Sir Aaron must insist that they do not participate. Try and convince him that he wants his help with potentially the opportunity to lead. However, a house that he is not yet bound to cannot participate.
I love it.
So that's gonna be 1 again. Dickon says back to Gareth, he's like, your hostilities to the Redhawks are clouding your sir's judgment. Clearly, having a force of their size would be beneficial to destroying Clegane. Miss. I think, what is it, 9? Actually?
Yes.
It is 9. So let's see.
Still no damage.
Yeah, that's fine. Okay. And he doesn't really say anything to Henry at this point.
Right, and Henry will just agree and say, this is what we get from the Redhawks, or the Redmanes. They wish to be a great house, yet they do not wish to do the things needed from a great house. I am here to prove today, not only with my sister, but with my army, that we are behind you as well as Dorn in this fight.
Reroll your one.
Man, all those sixes on rerolls. Gee.
Nice.
So, a +5, so 25.
Mm-hmm. So, Dickon nods and he's like, yes, you have the right of it. And he kind of looks over at Gareth and he's like, why are you lacking the compromise? Why do you insist on belittling your cousins?
Yeah, and then Henry will add in, yes, if you hate us because we are rebels, then you must hate Sir Dickon here.
I never used the word hate.
Dislike, sorry, yeah, you didn't. You're totally right. So if you think less of us because we are rebels, then why do you not think less of Sir Dickon here?
I do not think less of you because you're rebels. I think less of you because of the way your inability to maintain law and order within your lands. I find dislike of your house due to how they treated Sir Aaron's wife simply for loving Aaron. I dislike how they had a father who abandoned his own kin. I wonder what happens the first time there's some sort of trouble between House Manwoody and House Redhawk. Perhaps they will abandon their good brothers and sisters and fathers. Not saying that would happen, but it is a cause of concern. At least it would be for me if I was considering marriage for any children I may have. I do not dislike them because they're rebels. Mistakes are made. It's what you do to correct those mistakes.
And Henry says, and he puts his chin way up in the air when he says it, and he's like, we have made no mistakes.
Why don't you roll your influence, Gareth, if you're going to. Reroll that one, yep. So that did help by 2.
Oh, nice.
20.
So that actually helps. So that gets you to frustration. Okay. So
And he's taken 7 composure damage and 2 frustrations, if I'm keeping track at home.
Correct. Mm-hmm.
For me, it was no composure damage,
he
but
has
3
5.
frustrations, right?
You have, okay, so he has 5 composure damage to you because you rolled
Oh,
low
okay,
one
5.
time. He has 5 and 4 frustrations. To Gareth, he has 2 frustrations and he's at 2. Okay. So he basically just leans back in his chair and kind of rubs his chin. I'm waiting for Henry to speak one last time, probably.
Yeah, and Henry will say, this conversation is futile. We all know that you need my army. Although you will easily be able to probably lead the men that they will give you to victory, my army will only solidify this victory. And then he looks at Gareth, and then back at Dixon, and he says, if they will not have me, that is their choice. But you are the man leading this army, and you are the one that will decide who comes with you and who does not. And he'll roll his convince.
Mm-hmm. Okay. So, mechanically, what we're at right now is Dickon cannot take another frustration from Henry, and Gareth cannot catch up. In
Question.
This turn. Yep.
Quick question: would those ones make that any different?
No, it
I
doesn't.
assume
It doesn't
because
matter.
he would just take a frustration, right?
Yeah,
Okay.
he's got to take a frustration regardless. So because Gareth has 2 frustrations and Dickon's will is 4. So even if Gareth got a frustration this turn, it would be 5 to 3. Okay, everybody satisfied with mechanically how that worked?
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
So Dickon nods and he stands up and he's like, Gareth, there is only one thing to do, and that is kill the mountain. If you want my men and want access through my lands, then it will be me at the helm of your armies with my my good daughter's brother
Oh yeah.
at my
Cousin.
side. He's like, that is up to you to decide. If you do not wish our aid, then we would destroy the mountain ourselves.
Gareth looks and bows to Lord Dickon and says, I am sorry, but those terms are unacceptable to Sir Aaron. I wish your house and House Redhawk luck in finding the mountain, retrieving your son safely. And he turns to leave.
Okay.
And it is no deal with House Manwoody.
Dickon turns to Henry and he says, he's like, we have much to discuss. We will need to plan our course of action and move your troops here immediately.
Yeah, Henry nods and he says, so Henry would know the legend. Like, he's never met the mountain or seen the mountain, but he would know the legend, correct?
Yeah, I mean, that's a very, everybody in
well
Dorne
known,
knows who
right.
the mountain is. Everybody in Westeros knows who the mountain is, probably.
Right, because even back way when, he's the one that killed, like, the Red Viper's sister and shit, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, that's what I'll say. Henry's like, of course, our men will be here as quickly as they can be. This threat cannot go unchecked.
Okay, well, this is where I'm going to end it, and we can resolve all the specific individual things for each house in those sessions, right?